All right, today we've got The Rule of Jenny Page from 2024 with John Lithgow, and that's been recommended to me by a couple of people, so we're going to do that one tonight. And you've been warned about the spoilers before, and I will warn you again about the spoilers. There will be some. I'll be talking about the movie, things that happen, including the ending, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it ruined, you have been warned. Now, oh boy, so we got our main character who's a judge by the name of Stefan, and he's in the middle of doing a ruling against some criminal person, and he's about to do the verdict, and he has a stroke right in the middle of it. He's taken out, wakes up in this care facility, I guess. It's not quite an old folks home, but yeah, it's a care facility for elderly people. Geriatric, is that the word? Geriatric ward, maybe, or something like that? I'm not really sure. Anyway, he's had a stroke and he's recovering. So there's optimism early on about him recovering enough to leave and go back to his life. But as we progress, we find that that's not the case. So he's doing cognitive tests, drawing a clock and putting the numbers in order and repeating words that are said to him, and it's just getting progressively worse and worse until he's kind of realizing, like, yeah, I'm stuck here. So that's not great. So he asks for another room because he's sharing it with this guy Tony. So Tony is a former rugby star. He's a nice enough guy. Like, he's not really causing any issues, but I guess Stefan is just miserable, wants his own room. They tell him essentially, like, listen, there aren't enough rooms to have your own room, so that's not gonna happen. We'll put you on a waiting list, but it could be a while. Just adds up. So he's like, all right, fine. There is another patient, however, who's giving off some kind of creepy vibes, and this is the one played by John Lithgow, and he is a gentleman by the name of Dave, who walks around with this little puppet Cupid doll thing on his hand with, like, no eyes, whom he calls Jenny Penn. Okay, so that's fun. Anyway, he's giving off some creeper vibes. All the other patients seem to be creeped out by him. Like, he's kind of, I guess, the school bully of the care facility. So he'll take people's soup and they won't say anything about it. There was like a little dance floor scene where everyone's dancing. He's bumping into them deliberately just for fun, being an ass. And no one says anything. The floor basically clears and he's by himself dancing with his stupid little doll. Among other things, he messes with people. And it's kind of like, these people have dementia, a lot of them, so it's kind of mean-spirited, but that's his character. So anyway, he's visited at night, or his roommate Tony is visited at night, essentially, by Dave, who sneaks into his room. He has a key card, apparently, like an access card that he must have taken from an orderly that has access to all the doors of the facility, basically. So he sneaks into this room, and he basically, I guess, every night he enforces his rulership over this facility. So he's like, who rules? And Tony's like, Jenny Penn. So I guess his doll is like the de facto El Presidente of the place or whatever, so that's fine. Then he says, all right, now lick her asshole. And it's like, okay, what? And he, like, makes him lick, like, the top of his wrist. I guess that would be her asshole. I don't know, it's weird. And he does. And finally, Stefan's had enough. He's like, calls him out. And unfortunately, he ends up getting choked out, and they have like a little, like a bedpan type piss jug thing, I guess, that they go in so they don't have to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And he gets that dumped all over his lap. He tries to call for help on his little buzzer thingy, but that's been unplugged, he sees, after Dave leaves the room. So he's a little shaken up. So he reports this the next day. The orderlies, however, notice that he pissed himself and think it's like a fit that he had, or a little moment that he had elapse due to his mental deterioration. They're like, is that your own urine? And he's like, well, yeah, I literally just told you what happened. They're like, okay, that's fine. So they don't believe him for whatever reason. I don't know why. Then there's just scenes of him being a dick again. He like shoves some old, or he walks out of the room after all this and he sees some old guy on the floor who fell, and he's like going like, help, and Dave just looks at him like kind of disgusted and closes the door. So this poor old guy is just lying on the ground needing help. I don't know what kind of vendetta he has against like the other patients in this facility, but he does anyway. Nonetheless, his complaints go on deaf ears essentially. Stefan goes to Tony. He's like, listen, we can like deal with this. Tony doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't want to deal with it. He has a little hiding spot in one of the laundry rooms that he goes when he feels that Dave is going to be acting out or whatever. And so he finds him there. He ends up following him in there, and they talk, and he basically says like, listen, you gotta man up, dude. Like, this guy's taking advantage and bullying everyone here. Like, there's numbers, you know what I mean? It's they use like a thing about like hyenas versus a lion or something, and you know, like in numbers there's strength. I don't know, can't remember. To be honest, I was watching this with a couple of friends and we were talking a little bit throughout it, so you really can take this this synopsis and my opinion of the film, in all honesty, with a grain of salt, because I may have missed moments that maybe I shouldn't have missed. Anyway, yeah, so he goes to complain, and apparently Dave has already made a complaint about him, saying that he's been stealing from other people in the facility, and so they're not believing him, A, because he pissed himself and whatever, and B, because they've already got a complaint about him from the person he's complaining about. So they go to his room and they go check his room, and he's like, okay, like, sure, whatever. I mean, I don't think it's really necessary. And they find something under his mattress. I don't know what it is. It's like a piece of cloth or something with like a piece of denture and like some candies or something. It looked like Werther's Originals, or so I don't know if it was like a glove or like an undergarment or something. It was a piece of material with stuff in it. So anyway, proof he's been stealing stuff, whatever that may have been. If you know what that is, tell me, because I was curious. Like, we rewatched it and I couldn't quite tell exactly what. I know there was dentures in there for sure, but yeah, I don't know what it is. Anyway, so that's a thing. So I mean, the orderlies obviously are going to be believing Dave. Like, they found proof that Dave's story was true. Why are they gonna, you know, in all honesty, there should be an investigation on both sides. You know, just because one did something, he didn't actually do it, but you know what I'm saying. You gotta investigate both sides, just to be fair. But they don't, so that's fine. Anyway, as Stefan is wheeling around, he sees all these signs of like former staff members, and they go all the way back to like the 60s, and it turns out that Dave used to be an orderly, or like some kind of a staff member at this facility. And I guess just as he got older, he moved in there. So they even say at one point he's paying to be there and everything. Like, it's, I guess you get rent. I don't really know how that works, but he used to be an orderly. So I guess maybe he just kept his swipe card and no one realized it or something like that. I'm not sure exactly the story, but anyway, that explains his swipe card. So yeah, basically the next day they're in the dining area or whatever, and Stefan pulls up as Dave's eating, and he basically asks him, like, he goes off and reams him out essentially, and it's like, have you always been a cunt? That was like the line that it leads up to. And Dave is just like, see you tonight. So he's getting a visit tonight, so that's good to know. And he does, but lo and behold, instead of directly assaulting Stefan, he assaults Dave, I guess. I mean, he assaults Tony, I guess, thinking that doing that will be more of a detriment than assaulting Stefan himself, because he's that kind of a, you know, I don't know, that kind of a guy, stiff upper lip, tough guy, doesn't take shit, or he does, but he doesn't bend easily to that will. So anyway, he goes for Tony's bad knee. I guess he was in a rugby injury, or a rugby incident that injured his knee or something. He's like, what one's your bad knee? And he goes, oh, that's the one. Which one's your bad hip? Oh, that's the one. And yeah, that's that goes on. And again, he stands up and basically won't submit. And Dave is not impressed with that either. So continue on. There's an old lady. As he exits the room, there's some old lady that throughout the film has been asking like for her family or something. So she's half gone, half there. And Dave, just being an asshole, decides to toy with her. Says, yeah, your family's waiting out there. It's like pitch black out. And he like leads her out into the yard and opens the gate and tells her, yeah, they're just in there, and points to like some trees in a wooded area off the property. And this woman goes and wanders. The woman has like a compulsive thing too, so she like grabs his swipe card at one point. He's like, mine, and then he grabs it back, and she does it again, and he's just really annoyed. So I guess that's why he's kind of like, get out of here then, or whatever. She wanders off, and he goes back in the building, and his swipe card doesn't work. Oh, what the hell's going on? He flips it over, has her name on it. He's like, shit. So he takes off and goes to go find her, and this woman is like face down in a puddle. She drowns, essentially. She's dead. But he's running frantically over and pulling her out of the water. And for a second, you're almost like, oh shit, did he not want her to... No, he doesn't give a shit. He just wants a swipe card. Like, whatever. He gets it, and he gets back in, and we're all good. Anyway, next day, they pull that woman in. Either that night or the next night or another night after that, he ends up... There's a guy who's basically almost... like comatose. That's how gone he is. Or he's not comatose, but he's kind of like just so out of it that he doesn't know what the hell's going on. So he has a little chat with Stefan saying, listen, like that's essentially where you're going to end up, and tries to like mess with him mentally like that, telling him, you know, deterioration, I've seen it 100 times. See him over there, that's what you're going to end up as or whatever. And Dave again, or I mean Stefan again, basically he's like a literature nut, right? So he's like reading off quotes and or quoting things. And anyway, Dave's not into it. So under the table, he just gives him a quick kick to the shin. And ow, that hurts. You know shin. Banging your shin on something is not fun. So he's like, oh man, you gotta watch where you're going. Like running into tables like that. Basically, yeah, that's the cover, right? And he keeps kicking him as he's laying into him verbally too, telling him how he's gonna end up and stuff. And finally, Stefan flips out and throws stuff around and is taken by the orderlies, who basically subdue him and roll him off, and that's a whole thing. Again, he's making himself look worse, but at the same time, I guess this Dave guy has just been doing this to so many people that he knows how to do it without getting caught or something. Or maybe because he's a former staff member, the staff are on his side or something. I don't really know. But that happens. Anyway, he ends up killing that like almost nearly comatose guy too. I don't really know what the point was, but they do, so that's fun. Anyway, next day or that night or something, soon after that, shut up, Carla. He goes to have a shower. The nurse takes him or whatever, and as he's doing that, our good buddy Stefan in his little wheelie chair has taken a swipe card from the orderly's desk or whatever when they weren't looking, and he sneaks into his room, and he's like, okay. He's looking around, he's looking through things, he's like a picture of something, and his room is pretty empty. Like there's not a hell of a lot in there. There's like a plant and whatever. He's snooping, and when Dave comes back or whatever, he looks and he notices that there's dirt from his plant gone. And he's not happy about that at all. So he goes and confronts him again, and there's a whole thing of back and forth. He's just pissed, but for whatever reason, his response to having his room rummaged with is to put on a record and do a little dance and sing along with it. Sure. The artist on the album is apparently Jenny Penn something rather, and that's how we got the name from or something for his doll. I don't know. Anyway, he's singing and dancing, and he's getting winded, obviously. and he falls down and gets his inhaler out. So I guess he has asthma maybe or whatever, but he puts his inhaler, nothing. It's like, what? Looks at Stefan, you son of a bitch. So he like goes to his room, or stumbles to his room, and he opens his drawer and he pulls out another inhaler, and nothing. Pulls out another one, nothing. He's going through all of his inhalers. And then they cut to a scene of Stefan just slowly emptying all of his inhalers like that while he was in the shower that night. So that was pretty clever. You see him collapse on the floor, basically like half in the hallway, half in his room, and that's the end of that, right? All's well that ends well. So the next day they're eating and no Dave. All right, I guess that solved that problem. Even Tony's kind of happy. He's like, okay, well that's kind of good, right? I mean, I think it's good. Anyway, Bully's gone. You'd think that was a good thing, right? Lo and behold, nope. So he has a little blip. So what a blip is like a lapse in, like a time loss. Like, you know how, like in Alien Invasions, for example, someone will like remember seeing a light, and then randomly it'll be 2 hours later and they won't have any memory of that. So that's essentially his mind is like blipping in and out, and he's in his wheelchair being wheeled like really fast, and he looks behind him. Oh shit, it's Dave. So Dave lived and he wheels him into this one room where these two other people are, and he just hoofs him off of his wheelchair. Boom, Stefan's on the ground. And then it's kind of an icky scene. So there's an old blind man and his wife, and the blind man is at a table, and I guess he's immobile essentially, and his wife is half out of it, half not out of it, and basically Dave starts to undress this woman as her husband is yelling like, someone stop him, and she's like crying. Obviously, Stefan ain't having any of that, so he musters up the strength with his cane that he has, I guess, on his sides, so he can like get out of his chair and walk around a little bit. He ends up putting himself to his feet and smoking Dave in the head with his cane, knocking him down just as the orderlies come in. So basically it looks like Stefan assaulted Dave and probably this woman. Yeah, it does not look good. Oh boy, so that's not ideal. Anyway, he, I guess, had sustained injuries from his fall or whatever. He wakes up with like tubes in his nose and everything, and he's got his own room. And lo and behold, Dave is sitting in a chair there, and he goes up to him and he's like doing his little monologue, basically saying, "Hi, I got you. You're fucked now. You submit to me," or whatever. Does the whole who rules, and for the first time in the entire film, Stefan finally submits and says, "Jenny Penn." And then the whole weird lick her asshole thing, and he does, and it's like, okay. And he submits. He says, "Okay, see, that wasn't so bad after all, was it?" And he takes off, and yeah, that's not good. Yeah, so I mean, that's okay. Like the whole lick her asshole thing, like I know that's kind of making them just submit and demean themselves, essentially. It's just a really weird thing to put in there. Anyway, so Tony's eating, and Stefan is wheeled in, I guess, for the first time in a couple days, and he's really out of it. And he goes and sits by Stefan, and he realizes it's enough already. So he gets up, and in the middle of the room, he like basically calls out Dave by doing, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but like a Maori dance. So like sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Maori, I think it's called. In New Zealand, Australia, Oceania, I guess, the Polynesian or whatever islands, that's like the original people of that area are the Maori tribe, and they are like a warrior tribe. So he starts doing the dance and the slapping and the language and everything, and It's actually a pretty cool scene because I'm totally fascinated by indigenous cultures around the world, and Maori ones are like one of the coolest, legit. So that was kind of cool to see. And why he did that, I forgot to mention. So in one of the visits, he ends up telling like a joke to these guys, and like, so what do you call? He's talking to his stupid little Jenny Penn doll. Jenny Penn's like, what do you call Maori on the moon? He says, I don't know. He says, a problem. And he looks, huh? No, okay. What do you call 2 Maoris on the moon? I don't know. A big problem. It's like, okay. And then she's like, what do you call... I'm not going to do the voice because that's annoying. What do you call the entire race of Maori on the moon? He's like, I don't know. Problem solved. So it's like a racist thing, essentially. Knowing that obviously Tony is, you know, of that race. So he obviously does his little thing, but he's old, so he gets a little bit winded and whatnot. Anyway, Dave obviously doesn't like this. So as usual, night comes, goes to the room. Dave's not there. Stefan's not there. Okay, what the fuck's going on? I guess he knows about the room that Tony goes to hide in, the laundry room or whatever, because he ends up going that way. And he opens the door and he sees Stefan sitting there. And he enters the room. I guess he's like, alright, I'm going to beat the hell out of this guy. And right behind him is Tony, who startles him enough that Stefan is able to get up and tackle him and push him onto the pile of blankets or sheets or whatever. And they both are on him and holding him down. Tony's got his legs and they basically smother him with pillows and blankets and clothing. And yeah, he dies. He pisses himself to make it clear that he's dead. They pull the sheets off and his face is like dead. He's dead. Like, he's absolutely dead. Cool. So he's out of the picture. Great. There's not really much of a follow-up after that. Basically, it shows Stefan burning Jenny Penn, the doll, and that's roll the credits, essentially. There's not a hell of a lot more that happens after that. Shows everyone at peace, and the end. So, I mean, so this is based on a short story, apparently, which makes sense. Why there's not like a hell of a lot of depth. Like, why did he have the doll? You know, what's the backstory behind that? What is the relation to this record of the song there? You know, how did he end up in this facility when he was a former worker? Did he just go, like, there's a lot of unanswered questions, which is fine. But it left me and the 2 people I watched it with kind of thinking, like, okay, so that just was a thing. Like, it was just a thing that happened with no backstory, nothing like that. The acting was all really good. Like, that's one thing I'll give it. I mean, John Lithgow right there. Like, you got to win there. Why can't I remember the guy who plays Stefan? He's in a lot of things. What the hell is his name? Whatever, I'll just put it right there. Anyway, God. He was solid. Guy who played Tony. Everyone was good. The story itself wasn't really a story. It was more like a short story, which is what it was based on, so that's fine. But I mean, it was talked up and hyped up to me so much that I really was expecting more. So I feel like this movie is a victim of the hype a little bit. Now, I don't know if everyone else, you know, I don't know if you guys are going to be hyped up about this before you hear what I'm talking about it and then go in and have a similar experience, or maybe you'll love it. I don't know. But I was kind of disappointed a little bit. It wasn't bad by any means. Not a waste of time. It's worth a watch for sure, but like, I'm not going to watch it again. Really don't have any need to. The questions I had at the end of it, it's not like they're going to get answered by watching it again. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm an idiot. I mean, I could just be stupid too. Like, that's a thing. It's a very likely thing too. But honestly, it was okay. It just wasn't great. Man. I don't want to be too mean on it. Because again, the concept is cool. Like a psychopathic guy in an old folks place who himself is an elderly man, and he's just happens to be the strongest one there, I guess, with the most influence. it's a neat idea. I mean, he technically ends up, well, he doesn't end up killing 3 people, because the one woman, yeah, I don't know, he's the result of a couple of deaths, or he influences a couple of deaths to happen, or whatever, including his own. Oh shit, I didn't mention, right at the beginning of the movie, like, just as Stefan was, I guess, admitted or whatever, and he's just getting accustomed to being there for the short time that he thinks he's going to be there. He's sitting outside with another gentleman, and the guy's smoking, and he offers him a cigarette and everything, and that's great. And at this point, Stefan can still walk, and he gets up and wanders off a couple of feet, and all of a sudden, he turns, and this guy is on fire. Like, maybe he dropped his lighter, or like an ember fell, but he's just inexplicably on fire randomly, and they show him burning and screaming for help, and that's the last we see of that guy, so obviously he died. So this facility is awful. Like, to be fair, I've heard horror stories about some of these elderly care centers, or whatever they're called, like that being not good, and elderly abuse and stuff, which is awful. I mean, I'm sure it does happen, but like, this place in particular is, I don't know, man, because like, before Stefan got there, how much of this was going on before then? Like, we don't see how the guy catches on fire. Maybe Dave lit him on fire. We don't know. Like, at that point, we weren't even really introduced to Dave, so I don't know. But assuming that that's him, like, how many other people have died? And it's an ongoing issue at this place. Like, my God. So, hopefully it gets shut down in that universe there, but although Dave's dead, so maybe those things won't happen now. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting carried away here. What am I going to rate it? I'm giving it a flat 6. That's it. 6, boom, done. Sign the check, throw it out, get out of here, we're done. 6. Like I said, decent movie, but killed by the hype. I mean, I don't know if I would have rated it much higher, even if there wasn't hype, to be completely honest. If I walked in there not knowing anything, probably would have still given it a 6, so I'm going to stick with that, and yeah, I think we'll just leave it at that. I don't really have much more to say. Should you watch it? Yeah, you should watch it just once. I mean, it's but you really don't have to either. I don't know, man. It's okay. That's all I got. Watch it or don't. That's your call. You're not going to be missing much if you don't watch it, and if you do watch it, it's not a waste of time either, so take that for whatever it is, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. All right, peace. Bye.